Hey, I'm Grump, I'm not so Grump, and we're the Game Grumps!
Hi everybody, welcome to something a little different. Instead of talking about a movie or something related to movies or something else like that, I'm going to be relaying something that happened in my life recently. Like, very recently, like a few days ago, as of me recording this. I'm assuming by now I don't really need to tell you who the Game Grumps are. If you've been on the internet long enough, you've most likely heard of them, but just in case, I'll give you a little run through. Game Grumps is an internet comedy Let's Play series created by former cartoonist Aaron Hansen, then better known by his internet pseudonym Egoraptor, and video game reviewer John Jafari, better known as JonTron, which began airing back in 2012. The series revolved around the two hosts playing video games and providing commentary over their gameplay, which consisted of everything from observations about the game, to unrelated stories about their lives, to random non sequiturs, to laughing, and everything in between. The show seemed to be picking up a lot of traction in its early days, with many appreciating the chemistry of the two hosts, their senses of humor, and the fact that it was totally unscripted, allowing the natural personalities to shine through. All seemed to be going well, until around mid-2013, when Jafari suddenly departed from the show for, well, it's complicated and there's a lot of conflicting information, but I'll just say it was creative differences. Point is, Hansen was now without a co-host, and the show was in a bit of a tough spot, as in the nearly entire year that the show had been running, people had gotten used to the duo of JonTron and Egoraptor. How do you continue without that? Well, fortunately for Hansen, he wouldn't be long without a co-host, and yet again, he found one in another internet personality, Dan Avidan, who before joining Game Grumps in mid-2013 was most famous for being one half of the comedy music duo Ninja Sex Party. Many fans didn't take well to this new host, and felt the show couldn't continue without seeming like a pale imitation of its former self. But a staggering number of fans took kindly to this new face, or, well, voice, and didn't mind the change. In fact, some even welcomed it with open arms. And so, despite the protestations of a fair few, the two have continued to host Game Grumps together, uploading new episodes daily for a solid 9 years. And in that time, a lot has happened. New members have joined the show, series have come and gone, all revolving around the same core duo of Dan and Aaron. Now, with all that said, you might take me to be some kind of expert on the GRUMPS who has been watching them since their inception. Nope! In fact, I only really started watching them with any regularity about a year ago. I had heard of them before that, of course, and had even seen the odd episode here and there, but I wasn't a regular watcher by any means, and didn't really have any interest in becoming one until around mid-2021, when I started watching them more regularly. And from what I saw of them, they weren't that bad. It's kind of hard to be any flavor of objective when talking about a show like this, as it is very dependent on personal sense of humor and tolerance for screaming and poor gameplay. But hey, I can handle my screams, and I suck at video games, and I just kinda like the vibe of the whole show. They just seem like a couple of cool dudes I'd love to hang out with, and don't mind just watching them play video games. Emphasis on seem like, though. I obviously don't know them, even after seeing them in person, and I know about internet personas and parasocial relationships and all that, but if the whole conceit of your show is just you and one or more of your friends playing video games, it helps to be likable, or at least funny, and these two, and their crew, how do you do, are genuinely funny, at least to me, some of the time. I won't lie to you and say that the format of the show causes it to be kind of hit and miss, just sort of by design, but when it hits, it really hits, and when it misses, it's not awful, it's just not that entertaining. So that's my very brief coverage of the Game Grumps. All you really need to know is, video games, funny, I like them a lot, but I'm not a longtime fan. So when asked a few months back if I wanted to participate in a Game Grumps live show event that was coming to my city, my reaction wasn't so much, oh my god, I absolutely need to do this, I won't be able to sleep at night if I don't do this, I won't be able to live with myself, I don't go to the show, and was more, oh, sure, that sounds cool, I mean, what else am I gonna do? And that was enough. And so it was with modest, but not extreme excitement, that I left my comfortable dwelling on the evening of June 21st, 2022, and made my way into the city, plonked my ass down at one of the seats in the venue, and readied myself for my very first Game Grumps live show experience. It's also worth noting that we got VIP tickets, which got us a bonus Q&A before the main show began, and when I say us, I mean I wasn't the one who paid for the tickets, nor did I go alone. My mom, who was also a fan, arguably an even bigger one than me, also decided to come along. We got 2 tickets anyway, so it was either her or someone else, but there's no one I know personally who's as big a Game Grumps fan as she is, so I knew she was gonna come with me. Anyway, we took our seats, and what began next? Well, I'll tell you. But not like this. No, I'm afraid being a disembodied voice just won't work for every video I do, so I'm gonna have to come on the camera. Come on camera for the very first time. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Gotcha, bitch. Well, as hilarious as that must have been for all of you, as much as I wish I could keep up this masterful disguise for the entire rest of the video, I'm unfortunately going to have to lose the mask, and it's not for the reasons you think. I actually have a fine time at least understanding myself through the microphone, even with this on, but it's fogging up my sunglasses, and it's making it very hard to concentrate on what I'm actually saying, so give me a second to dispose of this. Perfect. Now, instead of looking like a terrorist, I just look like a douchebag for wearing sunglasses indoors and a hoodie indoors, gloves indoors. It's not even cold outside. I don't know why I'd be wearing these inside, but it's for the bed, I guess, so One of the things that I didn't mention about the VIP experience earlier was that it includes some merchandise, some free merch, which was pretty cool, and I'll show you the stuff that I got. There was a huge line to get more, but like the main thing that you get was, I'll show you at the end. So anyway, we took our seats. We noticed on the seats that there were these crowns. Those come into play later. Anyway, everything goes dark. The lights come up on the stage. Grumps come out. Big applause moment. Yay! The way that the Q&A worked was that I initially thought it was just going to be raise your hands and we'll call on you. But I guess they figured that if you paid for the Q&A, you probably want to ask the questions that they will then answer for you. You probably want them answering your questions. So instead what they had you do is that when you come in, you had the opportunity to write your question down on a piece of paper and then put it in a little jar, and then they give the jar to them when the actual Q&A starts, and then they will, pick the... pick the questions out of the jar and then answer them, I guess just so that they wouldn't have to deal with, I don't think it was quite hundreds of people in the theater yet, but it was definitely at least dozens of people's hands just shooting up like this. Anyway, the Q&A was fun. I'm not going to go through every single question that they answered, but there were a couple that stood out to me, and I'm going to tell you about one because, as someone who is currently trying to start up content creation on this platform, hearing these two guys who have pulled it off so well, to give a little bit of context, the question that was asked was, if you had one advice for someone trying to, start up, they didn't specifically say YouTube channel, but, it was just like a general, creative field. So let's start with Dan's answer because he was the one that answered first. And his answer was something to the effect of, it's never too late to, change your mind. It's never too late to turn things around. And that, sounds about right, because even though he's been on Game Grumps for almost 10 years, over 9 years, he's also in his early 40s, and he was in his early 30s when he joined. And that's, that's kind of above average for the average age of, YouTubers just starting out, especially in those days. It's funny. He said that he could never imagine his life without the show. And then he mentioned how funny it was that he could have never imagined his life with the show 24 hours before being asked to join. And then Aaron's answer, which, wasn't as, I guess, hunky-dory, you can do it. It was a little bit more, I guess, grounded, was discipline. Or, as he put it, doing it on the days that you don't want to, because if you do, you'll thank yourself later when it's the days that you do. Okay, listen, you can debate about the guy all you want. Like him, dislike him, feel however you want to feel about him. There are plenty of people who can't get enough of him, and there are plenty of people who absolutely cannot stand him, and then there are a lot of people who are somewhere in between. In terms of finding success on the internet, he's figured it out. He's clearly doing something right. He knows what he's doing. At least I certainly think he does. I mean, he wouldn't have this if he didn't. Look, at the end of the day, obviously, Aaron Hansen is not some infallible saint who can do no wrong and is always in the right about everything. At least I certainly don't think he is, and I don't think the majority of people do either. But certainly in some regards, he must be doing something right. And if someone is doing something right, and you are looking to them, and you are wondering, how can I do that same thing just as right? Wouldn't it make sense to listen to them? So no, I don't knock anybody for, looking to him for guidance on this particular matter. I certainly don't blame the person who asked the question, and I'm sure that they were looking for both of their answers, because they both did have good answers. Although, wait, but before we move on, there is one more question that stood out to me, and it was asking Aaron if he wanted to, or if he could sing Darude Sandstorm, which, I mean, if you've been a longtime fan, then you probably know all about that. But when he was asked to do it, instead of just doing it, and instead of caving in to fan demands, he asked the audience, which included me, if we wanted to participate. And of course, I was more than happy to. And then we all sang Darude Sandstorm together. That was nice. I liked that. Okay, quick little addendum here. I wanted to add on one last thing about the Q&A before I move on to the main show. As we were done, as we were wrapping up, as we were leaving, or not as we were leaving, as they were leaving, as the Game Grumps were leaving, Dan, he basically thanked everybody who was there for, splurging, for spending the extra dough. And he said something to the effect of, you guys are the super fans. You're the ones who keep us going. And, listen, me being called a super fan, it's very flattering, but in a way it made me feel unworthy. Because as I said at the beginning, I've only been watching these guys for a little under a year. And to be in a room full of super fans who came in their Game Grumps t-shirts, to have me be lumped in with them under the moniker of super fans, again, I appreciate the kind words here, but, let's not go. We might be jumping the gun a little bit here. I was thinking that I barely qualified as just, fan in general. You're going to throw a super in front of that? You're gonna elevate me all the way to super fan status? Let's cool it before we get too ahead of ourselves, okay, guys? I'm about to get into the show itself, which was fun, and I had a great time. But the Q&A kind of ended up being my favorite part of the night overall. I didn't go into a ton of detail on it, but again, that's mostly because it was just kind of questions and answers. But it's almost in the spirit. It's almost more in the spirit of the show that way, because the show itself isn't exactly something you can go into much detail on. It's not like you can dissect every single episode and review it. You're not going to review a Game Grumps episode. It's that's not the point. During the Q&A, we had this girl sitting behind us. This is what I'm talking about when I say that I felt kind of out of place there, because she was the definition of a super fan. She was loud. Yeah, she was a little noisy, but I didn't really mind it. Once we took our seats in the front row, we got sat behind another rather talkative lady, but both times I was just kind of because it was that's just the kind of environment that it was, I kind of just brushed it off as just being oh, they're just a fan, they're just happy to be there. I don't want to take that away from them. What, am I going to be I know you splurged on the VIP experience, but you see, I'm here with my mother, and we would both greatly appreciate it if you would just turn the volume down just a tiny bit. No, I'm not going to do that. Let her have her fun. Let her yell and be loud. Anyway, they finally come out again. And by this point, the theater is full. And so, of course, when they came out, big audience applause break. Everybody's just insane. And the funny thing is that when they came out, I was at the Boston show. And it was one of their last shows. They'd been touring since the beginning of June. When they came out, and everybody started going nuts because, it was the Game Grumps. They were on stage. Let's go nuts. Let's go crazy. we heard from Dan that, like, over the loudspeaker, there's supposed to be a message that's telling us to, like, stand up and, clap as they come out. But we were such an active crowd that we couldn't hear the message over the sounds of our applause and our cheering. Without going into too much detail, basically the whole conceit of this live show is that we were split into two different teams. That's what the crowns were for, because we're segmented by teams. You got Team Grump, which is the pink team, which is Aaron's team, and then you got Team Blue, Not So Grump, Dan's team. But anyway, the whole idea is that you got the series of games, and then the Grumps will pick representatives from their respective teams to compete. So the game Grumps don't actually do a whole lot of playing in this show. It's mostly them just sitting back and letting their fans play the games for them. Draw whatever conclusions about that you like. I'm not going to get into it. But, yeah, that's basically the whole gist of the show. And it's a pretty good idea. Getting a lot of, like, audience involvement in there is nice, especially considering how much this crowd was obviously just loving every minute of it. Again, we'll get to that. The atmosphere to the show is like if you took the people that normally attend a sports game, like a football game or a baseball game, and then you put them inside a theater and forgot to tell them to shut up. It was crazy. Anytime anything happened on the stage, the crowd would just go wild. It was insane, and I would replicate it, but it's like 4 a.m. at the time of me recording this, and yeah, I'm not going to try and do that. I don't usually find myself in environments where, cheering and, like, roaring really loudly is really necessary, so I haven't done it a whole lot. This made me realize that I should probably do that more often, because, yeah, I'm not very good at it. Anyway, enough about my lackluster cheering. There's more important matters at hand here. The thing that really got me about this show was just the pure, like, unadulterated happiness and joy that was present throughout so much of it. People view things like, a big crowd cheering as, like, annoying. I don't find it annoying. I find it really cool that these people are getting so invested in this. I think it's cool that they're, getting really wrapped up in it and, wanting to celebrate and wanting to vocalize their appreciation for something, even if that vocalization comes in the form of, I'm not going to do it, but you know what cheering sounds like, so you get my point. I just think it's really great that people are willing to do that, and it's really great that this was an environment in which we were willing to do that. In a way, this show kind of made me feel more connection between, my fellow humans than I have in a long time. A show like this, it really does have a way of, like, bringing people together, as corny as it might sound, and, I'll be the first to admit what I'm about to say here probably gonna be pretty corny, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Going to this show made me appreciate the Game Grumps more than I already did. It made me appreciate the positive impact that they've had on so many people's lives. Because you know what? There's so much negativity in the world, especially nowadays. It just seems like everybody's pissed off at everything. Not that they don't have a reason to be. There's a lot to be pissed off at in the world, and there's always going to be. But every once in a while, it's good to just, forget about all that. Throw that all out the window. And go somewhere where anger and negativity just don't belong. And it's just all about joining together and just being happy. And that's what it's all about. And that's the name of the game. Grumps. And, like, even after the show was over, it was cool, too. I fist bumped the usher, or the theater manager, whoever the guy was. Since we were in the front row, he'd been, like, standing next to us the entire time. And he, like, went on this journey with us in a way. Okay, I'm stretching a little bit with that one. But, like, when, in the end, we all got up and we fist bumped him. Everybody in the front row fist bumped him. I just think that was cool. Before I forget, I did mention earlier how we got, like, merchandise, and there was an option to get more, but I decided to just go with, like, the standard package, I guess, as well as some additional bonus items that I will show you. Let me go show you what I got here. I'll be right back. Welcome. This is my third time, actually, trying to record the merch segment. So, third time's the charm, I suppose. Anyway, the first piece of merch here is the bag itself. It's just a simple black bag that says Tournament of Gamers, which was the name of the actual event. And then we've also got this lovely poster right here, which is actually signed by Dan and Aaron themselves. How wonderful. It's got the listings for all the different shows that they went to. And as I said, we also got the signatures. And wow, we've got quite a chasm in terms of intelligibility on these signatures. Lovely, aesthetically pleasing, but also still intelligible spelling of Denny with even a little Star of David right next to it. Fucking hot mess of unintelligible scribbles. I mean, am I missing something here? Am I just bad at reading signatures? Could anyone else? I can't even interpret that as what it's supposedly meant to say. I'm assuming that somewhere there's something that vaguely is meant to resemble Aaron, but wherever it is, I don't see it. This wasn't an official piece of merch. It was a little bit of unofficial merch, baby. I got the crowns. Well, actually, these were both gathered up by my mom. I told you about the crowns, right? Yeah, you know about the crowns. I told you about all that. And we got the VIP pass itself, which, I mean, it's just a pass, but it does show that I was, in fact, VIP certified for the VIP experience. Woo! And then we got the pins. We got some pins right here. I have our lovely, what is this? It looks like either Prince or Princess Aaron. I'm fine with either, frankly. And Sir Daniel. And Dan's pin survived pretty well being in that bag, but I guess me walking around with them on my way home must have done a number to Aaron's, because look, he kind of looks like he broke his neck a little bit. So yeah, sorry, Aaron. Whatever. That was the merchandise. Before I wrap up with this video, I'd like to acknowledge a couple, not really individuals, but certain sects of people that might be watching this. First of all, to the people that went to this show, either the exact one that I did, the Boston one, or two other ones, because they did it all around the country. I hope you had fun, as much fun as I did. I certainly had a blast, and I hope you did too. Same goes for anyone who's ever been to any other live show, or even just appearance that they've made, or any other like YouTuber live event thing, anything of the sort. I really hope you had a great time. For the people who are considering going to one of these events and might be on the fence about it, I would say it's fine to, be more considerate if it's something you have to travel for, but if it's really close by and it's in your area, just go for it. Even if you're just halfway interested, just go for it. To the people that have really wanted to go to an event like this and maybe just missed out or didn't get the opportunity, I genuinely hope that you do one day, and I hope you have as much fun as I did at mine. Again, I keep on reiterating, but I really did have a great time. It's not to rub it in anybody's face, just to illustrate the fact that, I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to, and I think you will too, even if you're just halfway considering it. Let's see, should I even entertain this possibility? Fuck it, you know what, I'll do it anyway. On the extreme off chance that Dan or Aaron ends up actually watching this video, first of all, hi guys. Second of all, just know that this show really made me appreciate what you guys do a lot more, and how your show has, really brought a lot of good to people's lives, and how it's made a lot of people feel really happy because, they wouldn't have come to this show if what you didn't, strike some sort of chord with them. And I think that's really cool, and I think you guys should give yourselves some pats on the back for that. You should be proud. My camera is apparently about to stop recording, so I gotta wrap this up. I'll just say, I hope you enjoyed the video. Sorry if it was really unfocused and kind of rambly. This was almost entirely unscripted, unlike everything else I've been doing, so that's why it was kind of, if it was a little all over the place, that's why, but I hope you enjoyed regardless. Hope you enjoyed something slightly different. I hope you enjoyed seeing me on camera, even if, I wasn't totally revealing myself. I might get around to it at some point. It was mostly for a joke anyway. I'm not that concerned about people knowing what I look like. But that's about it. Yeah, again, hope you enjoyed. Hope you didn't mind the kind of unscripted, rambly nature of it. I don't know how often I'll do things like this, but for now, hope you just enjoyed it as kind of a one-off thing, if that's what it remains, and see ya.